welcome to Somewhat Daily Backup for Wednesday, the 4th of November. I'm your host, Nick TBC, apparently, Richardson, and I'm joined by Peter, the Woods Baby Burns. Is that what we agreed on? That's terrible.
Was that what babies do?
Well, it kind of looks like you were a baby committing some sort of murder against their will. They didn't want to do it.
Why else have children if not to send them against your enemies? We're basically, it's Crusader Kings 3.
Exactly. Yeah, if that is the lesson from that. I mean, that's why people think it's about a legacy, but it's actually about destroying other families' lineage. That's what it's actually about. Absolutely. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Oh, I had all this time, Peter. I had all this time when I could have done this, and I didn't. And instead, I have to do it now, which is open up Twitch chat. Because people think that I don't care.
Well, I can tell you he's here. Kikanj is here. Lupoid is here. Dusk Bunny's here. We've got some Grim Pixel. We've got some Riot 3. We've got some Contrasted. Some De Novo David. I'll just keep going. I'll read them all.
Yeah, I dare you. Read them all. Okay, don't read them all.
My poor baby Joe can't handle it.
Now I feel sad for you. Are you enjoying the clean-shaven life?
I am.
Yeah?
I am. I haven't been clean-shaven in like 3 years. And it feels good. Yeah. So I definitely need to do some skincare. I don't know if you've gone clean-shaven. I mean, you trimmed down pretty hard, but...
I haven't... Oh, God. I think it's literally been 10 years.
Yeah. And mine gets like... Well, yours is, mine's patchy, and yours is a bit patchy as well. But I let it get reasonably thick on the chin and the moustache, and that's where the problems have occurred. Where it hasn't seen the light of day in 3 years, so now it's like, oh, what's this? I feel so naked.
Do you think you could grow a mustache so thick that if you shaved it off, you'd have tan lines on your face?
I reckon you could, for sure. I mean, you shave Selleck, and I guarantee you, his top lip is like 3 shades whiter than the rest of his body. Yeah, and let's verify that against all of the rest of his body.
100%.
His butt is definitely more tan than his top lip.
He's
does been nude in the sun frequently.
Exactly. He does the full body tan. There's no way that the Selleck Wang isn't getting the vitamin D that it needs. So there you go. So Pete's clean shaven. I will go clean shaven at some point during this month. I just can't do it this week because we have a show on this weekend. Even though Gus, well, we can talk about this tonight. Let's talk about it tonight at the show. That's what we'll actually do. Let's talk about that tonight.
Yeah.
Instead, content. We've got a bunch of news that we can talk about today, and a lot of that news is due to 2 people. The first is the Pocket Patron extraordinaire, and today that is Catherine Costigan. So thank you very much, Catherine, for your patronage. And Catherine, I hope you're watching. May you never find yourself a studio space, Catherine. There can only fit 1 set. That means you need to rip out the back pocket set every time you do something new, because it's a real pain in the ass.
And may you no more be plagued by people asking you, how much that cost again? Because that's all I would do if I was in your presence.
Yeah.
I would look at everything that you have and be like, how much did that cost again?
God. Insufferable to be around.
You would choke me within 5 minutes.
That's a record. I wonder I'm sure that happens to her. I'm sure someone has said that to her. Yeah,
it would.
It's got to be. That's no way to live. But the other reason that we're here is, of course, because this is the Somewhat Daily Backup, and it is brought to you by one of the favorite pocketeers, and that is Tim! Tim in the chat. Get your Tims out from the Learn Programming Academy. Tim, head to lpa.dev/backpocket for Tim, who makes some of the best, and I don't know if they're the best, because I haven't checked all of the online coding tutorials made in Australia, but I can tell you that he's certainly one of the best, if we consider that they're all on the best spectrum somewhere.
Absolutely.
You can be the worst at being the best, but you're still on the best
But that BuzzFeed list is still called the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Of online tutorials.
And so Tim is certainly on the list of people who make online tutorials, but I feel like I'm pretty confident, knowing our community, that we only attract the best. And so therefore, Tim is the best. If you want to learn programming, then head to the Learn Programming Academy and take a course. We found some people who told us about the courses that they were doing, which was very exciting. And so if you are doing a course, let us know. There's a bunch there. Most of them are video courses. Most of them are under 20 minutes, $20, and most of them are sort of short form and very easy to consume and watch. You don't need to read, as I constantly have some sort of selling point as to why that is important, even though you are coding, which is mainly just writing, as is my understanding. But could you write without being able to read? Like, you can speak a language without being able to write it? I don't think it's possible.
Interesting. I'm sure, like, there are people who yeah, there are definitely people who can speak languages and not write the language.
Yes.
So, yeah, I wonder if the opposite is possible. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's happened.
Definitely, I think coding. I think you could just learn the language of coding and never have to use the word, like...
Never have to speak in that syntax.
Yeah, and never, like, but not, if you looked at the word mayhaps, you would be like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But if you looked at C++ forward slash www.
That's a soft square bracket to close off the paragraph. So.
Good. All right, we've spoken enough about the Pocketeers. Let's get on to the news.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, done with them, Pete. I'm done with them. I'm shutting the Patreon down.
Get rid of them.
I don't mean that. This first story is coming in. BlizzCon moving online this year because of COVID. It's called BlizzCon Line.
It's well gamer titled.
Is that Miles?
It is. I just grabbed our screenplay BlizzCon coverage.
Yeah, good. For a second, I thought he was in the ad for BlizzCon, and I was like, Jesus Christ, he's stepping up.
When is this? 2017.
Yeah, that's the day. That was that trip that you went on, and I didn't go on.
That was a crazy trip.
I heard stories.
Yeah.
But BlizzCon, well, you're not going to be able to go this year, but you are going to be able to watch, and you're going to be able to watch for free. Normally, BlizzCon is something that, obviously, if you go, you need to buy a ticket, but even to watch all the panels and stuff online and access all the behind-the-scenes info and everything, then you need to buy a ticket, which was kind of like $40 each or something American.
Yeah, for US per day, I think. It was pretty crazy.
Really?
Yeah. It was quite, well, I mean, I guess that's not that expensive when you're in Anaheim and it's like Disneyland is like literally up the road. Like
no, but that's a virtual ticket.
Yeah, sorry, that was just a virtual ticket. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
But it's now going to be totally free, and I feel like this is one of those things that you can't walk back from now. You've made your convention free. It can never not be free for people watching from home now. There's going to be the normal stuff, which is a bunch of panels, potentially some esports, a lot of Blizzard news. But yeah, the pilgrimage for the Blizzard fans, not happening this year.
Yeah, it's sad because, I mean, you know, like, I feel like people's perception of Blizzard has changed quite dramatically over the past, like, 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
You know, it was like they were considered the pinnacle of game development, even through to Overwatch's launch and the way they managed their esports scene after launch. But it's really kind of been the Activision takeover has started to feel a bit more, the company started to feel more Activision than Blizzard in the Activision Blizzard of it all. So there's been a little bit of loss of favor with Blizzard, I think. But like, I've been to a few conventions. I haven't been to like as many as plenty of people in the industry, but BlizzCon was the best convention that I've ever been to.
Yeah.
It is like, it's premier content. It is really well organized. There's something happening that's interesting in every corner of the hall for 3 days. Yeah, and everyone there is just really passionate, and because it's a single developer, and they've got so many good IPs, they've got stuff for everyone, and they've got so much access. You know, you go to E3 and it's like, oh, we built the E3 vertical slice, and it's like really limited, and we can only talk about so and so. Whereas because it's from the source, they're like, what do you want to know?
Yeah, exactly. We'll put it all in.
Here it is.
I mean, it's because it's a cult. right?
Absolutely.
That's why it's got such a great energy. It's got that sweet cult energy that I would say all
subscribe to Screenplay, ladies and gentlemen. Get some daily entertainment.
What a memory. God, we nearly reneged on that whole daily thing as well. Back Pocket is really just a bitch session about Channel 7. BlizzCon, it's sad that it's not happening in person. I've never been. I'll never be able to go to a BlizzCon. I don't really play Blizzard games anymore because, like a lot of people, I have burned out a bit on them, which is a shame, but I'm sure the next time that something comes out, I'll be well and truly back in. I did see in the news this morning as well, just a side note, when you were talking about the fact that the Activision influence, Dave Cossack has left Blizzard as well. He was the lead designer for Hearthstone. He took over from Ben Brode. Like, there is literally no one working at Blizzard anymore who you went, oh, these were the people responsible for those games that I love. So it's going to be very interesting to see what that company turns into. And we will, the next time there is a BlizzCon in person, then it'll be interesting to see that vibe. Do you think that since they're not going to be having in-person events and stuff, do you think they'll still be dropping the same level of, Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 as being most likely the two big things there? Are they still going to go all out on those? Yeah,
I think so. I think they... they've pushed this back to February next year, and that was like that's replacing this year's one. We don't really know what's going to happen with BlizzCon 21. Mm-hmm. It could still happen it's not going to, but maybe they'll do another thing in like August or October or whenever it's meant to happen typically. Yeah. So they've got, they do have stuff in the works, and they want to talk to their audience because they do it every year, and there's going to be some Diablo mobile stuff. There's going to be some Overwatch 2 stuff, and good. Even just to stay in the news cycle, they're going to want to be a part of the conversation. Yeah. Clearly, they don't have anything ready for the new consoles because otherwise they would have tried to get that information out quicker. Maybe they will slip some things into Sony and Microsoft presses over the next few months, leading up to BlizzCon online, BlizzConline. But they're going to have a lot to say still. So I think I think it will still be a show for Blizzard fans. It will still be a show worth visiting the online. Yeah. It's free. Of course, it's going to be worth it. And
one of the things that I'm sure they'll be touting at some point is maybe not to the gaming-facing part of the audience during BlizzCon, but to the business-facing part, is that Blizzard made $1.2 billion US in microtransactions in the last quarter. So that is the period from July to September. The company made over $1.95 billion in revenue, up from $1.2 billion for the same quarter in 2019. The biggest driver for that success is a staggering $1.2 billion in microtransactions. So it's basically over half of the money made by Blizzard in that quarter have come in from microtransactions, mostly from Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Warzone. So the Activision Blizzard merger potentially not working out for the creative IP of Blizzard, but certainly working out for the bottom line of the two companies.
Totally, and they are fortunate in that this latest COD has been really well received critically. Warzone obviously doing really well. Obviously doing really well financially, but also doing really well with its player base in terms of a good content release schedule. Even if things aren't revolutionary, it's still being updated in a way that makes it feel like they're giving it the support that the fans deserve. Yep. I think there's a lot of good sentiment around COD. So that's just reflected in how much money people are pouring into it because they're enjoying the experience of it. And I think it is a worthy COD. It's the first COD in the better part of a decade that's felt fresh and good, and it's a great take on Warzone. Is a great take on the battle royale. So there's a lot going for COD at the moment. Obviously, this amount of money is an insane amount of money to be making in a quarter. Yeah. We don't even make half of that in a quarter.
No, it's just we should start doing microtransactions.
We should
sell skins for our faces because that's mainly what people are talking about in the chat.
Yeah, totally. We do, as we've seen footage. We've been to BlizzCon before. You've been to Blizzard headquarters, Nick. We've got friends over there. They've sent us a video from inside the boardroom of Activision Blizzard. We're not allowed to show it all, which is why I've cut away, because I'm just going to show a little snippet. So here is a moment from the boardroom of Activision Blizzard where they announced how well they're doing this year.
Let me give a warm welcome to our CEO, Bill Stone.
Here's Bill, of course we all know.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I have some great news. Our board of directors has agreed to the acquisition of NCT Software by Oracle Corporation for $1 billion.
There you go.
Very excited.
Billion.
Very excited.
Billion.
So that microtransaction was actually just buying one company.
They're being bought.
Yep.
That is a clip of Birdemic, Shock and Terror. Watch the film. It's great.
I feel like people are like, what's with the music? And it's like, wait, someone edited some music over the leaked insider info that they sent you?
I filmed on a potato. That was a university short film for. It's like a green, future university, and the whole film is about us looking after the environment, or birds will come to murder us.
Yeah, I mean, it's a true story. It's basically a documentary. It is a staggering amount of money overall, according to PC Gamer. Activision Blizzard expects to make $8.1 billion in 2020, which they go on to say is hard for anyone to hear who was recently laid off in the closure of the Versailles office, particularly because Activision Blizzard then announced it would need to hire an additional 2,000 people to cover upcoming production demands, which is just, all those numbers are staggering. So Activision Blizzard doing very, very well right now. And I think that, even though the microtransaction thing is a contentious issue, I feel like Call of Duty, from what I can tell, has been doing it pretty well. And like you said, the fact that it's such a solid game does actually make the difference, that it's not just a cash grab in terms of it feels like they're phoning it in. Everyone I know who plays it loves it, is obsessed with it, and it's kind of like their new version of Call of Duty. So I suppose I can't begrudge successful, good things being successful, but I can begrudge billionaires just hoarding their billions.
Yes, totally.
And they hoard their billions because COD Warzone has increased the player base of Call of Duty by a factor of 10. So on a recent earnings call, I assume it was the same earnings call.
Yeah.
The President and Chief Operating Officer, Daniel Algier, was talking about Call of Duty and Warzone and went on to say that monthly players grew over tenfold year over year on PC, which is a staggering amount of growth for that game. And I think I always but like I kind of, you know, when you see the stories of like 18 million people have downloaded and installed this game.
Yeah.
My brain finds that difficult to wrap around, that there are that many people who even know how to use a computer. That many people, like, it is that gaming is very big, but also like Call of Duty Battle Royale feels like I could walk down the street and find a lot of people who have never heard of that before. And,
totally.
But, you know.
How are there that many people who have a hard drive big enough to hold Modern Warfare on it?
This is what I'm talking about.
That's the big question.
This is what I'm talking about. And that not only has Warzone increased its player base, it's also making players buy the other Call of Duty. So Modern Warfare in particular, got its highest first-year sales in the series history. Cross-platform hours played in Modern Warfare universe were 7 times higher year over year than the previous title. So it seems like that whole free-to-play really sucks you into an ecosystem that people are finding it hard to get out of.
And also, I think, like, COD has felt like a console shooter for a long time, and not necessarily in a bad way. It's always been fun to play on PC, and I do enjoy it as a mouse and keyboard shooter as well.
Yep.
But it does feel like it's had a console focus.
Definitely.
I mean, even the way that it gets marketed, and they've attached themselves so hard to PlayStation for the last generation. people always bought COD on PC and played through the campaign or played a bit of multiplayer and kind of fell off. But Warzone is such a PC genre that
Why
it's
do you think that is?
I feel like the way that it plays. I don't know. Maybe that's just totally anecdotal. I guess early on, it's like consoles were challenged in getting 60, 100 people into a server, whereas PC, because a lot of it was peer-to-peer matchmaking rather than server-based matchmaking. So that's kind of where big multiplayer happened, was always on PC and Battlefield and stuff like that. And so that's just translated across, that you're going to play this massive multiplayer thing. Maybe there's a bit of that. I feel like that's probably why I think that way. Yeah. And also then there's things like it feels like the genre kind of was born from DayZ into PUBG into Fortnite, which is like, they were just PC games, you know, like DayZ and PUBG were never going to run on a console when they first came out. So, because they were just buggy pieces of shit that you just had to like hack into your computer to make it work, you know?
That is interesting, because I do agree that there's something. I'm trying to put my finger on why it feels like that. I think all the reasons that you've said are correct. There's also just something that feels, maybe it's the hardcoreness of something like a Warzone, like the level of investment maybe is what I'm trying to think of, that it feels more like an MMO level of investment where you're just sinking a bunch of money, even though something like FIFA or Madden do this, and they are like super heavy console titles when it comes to people investing in their sort of microtransaction ultimate team situations. But I feel like a lot of the time when I think of games with very heavy ecosystems that with tons of skins, lots of investment in leveling things up, when it's a multiplayer aspect, for whatever reason, I think of them as PC titles. So, I guess potentially a lot of people think that as well.
Yeah. Gus is in the chat having a whinge because he plays on console, like a loser.
But Gus doesn't... Wait, does Gus... Yeah, Gus doesn't really play that many PC titles. Like, if given the choice...
He played a lot of... We played PUBG together. I think it's just that his friends play... on Xbox, so he plays on Xbox with them. Yeah. So, like, obviously you go where your friends are, and you can play Warzone on anything, so nothing's stopping you. But yeah, I feel like you're right about that as well. Like, when I'm spending money in a game, I want to be at my computer. There's something that feels safe about, like, it loading the PayPal window in a different browser, as opposed to... I don't know what that is. Putting credit on my Xbox account or whatever, or just buying it through the Xbox store as like a card on the dashboard. It's like, how safe is that? Where does that go?
I think there could be something as well in the idea that whenever I think of buying something on a console, I think of it like, well, this is going to not be mine in a couple of years when I get a new console, or they're going to release a new, like, consoles are very much like, we're constantly going to release new versions of that thing. Like, if I think about FIFA, investing in Ultimate Team, you invest for a year and then a new Ultimate Team comes out and you start from scratch. Whereas with PC, there is that idea of like, these games just exist until they decide to turn them off. So you can, it's something like WoW, where you just go, you've had the same WoW account since it launched, and you've gone through multiple versions of Windows, 10 different computers, whatever, but it's still, all your stuff is still there. And that's not, even though that's now changing with consoles, that's not how consoles used to be. So it was like, the idea of putting any money, it actually feels like I'm taking my money and just putting it in the disc tray of the console. And just like, now when I don't use this anymore, that money is just gone.
Yeah, totally.
So Call of Duty, Activision, you're all doing great work. You're doing the Lord's work, Activision. Something that's not as great, but still has time to turn around, is that the Xbox exclusive, the Medium, one of the few exclusive launch titles of the Xbox, has been refused classification in Australia, which is a song that we are used to singing. A listing appeared on the classification board's website, noting that the Medium was submitted for classification remotely and consequently slapped with a refused classification rating. The game was classified on July 6th through an online IRAC tool, and then a representative of the board told Kotaku, as of the 28th of October 2020, the classification board has not received an application for any physical game by the title The Medium. So no one really knows what this means. There's still time for them to turn this around, but I mean, most of the time this stuff gets fixed, right?
Totally. This is a pretty age-old tale as well. The IARC we were talking about constantly, a good game, was the system that because the classification board is just not funded well enough to be able to stay on top of everything. Which is part of why it was defaulting to refuse classification so much back in the day. The IARC is a digital submission that the classification board recognizes but does not have anything to do with other than the fact that it plugs into the back end of their system. And it was someone on, is it Bloober? What's
Bloober
the
team.
Developer
Bloober
called?
team.
Bloober
It's the
team?
strangest name.
Yeah, Bloober team. Someone on their side that submitted the application, which was just failed because they picked the wrong drop downs. So this hasn't been put in front of someone and they've gone like, oh, this looks a bit too, like that shot that person takes looks too much like they're taking a drug as a healing pill or whatever, which is typically, again, drugs.
Sexualization of minors.
Yeah, but even like sex as a reward, caught The Witcher 2.
Yep.
And it's often drugs, like people taking drugs to heal themselves.
Yeah, like stim packs that seem like they're not Panadol, but actually cocaine.
Yeah. And so this game is like looks really interesting. It is it's the Xbox's answer to Ratchet and Clank Rift in Time or whatever it's a bit Silent Hill in that there's like the demon world and the real world, and you can swap between those two worlds to solve the puzzles of, like, the medium is someone who's obviously like is a conduit to talk to the afterlife, and so they exist between these two worlds, and that's the game. It's not like a AAA game. It's going to be like a AA, smaller kind of idea. But I think it's looking really cool.
It looks cool. I love that comparison. That's like if Ratchet and Clank is Batman and Robin, then this is Batman Begins. This is just like we've just taken all the joy out of this out of this idea.
There's just as many particle effects. It's just viscera now instead of like sparks and joy.
Totally, yeah. No, I'm super keen to play this game. I'm sure that it is just, like you said, a drop-down menu. They incorrectly filled out one part of the form. It's an incredibly complicated form, so I'm sure that it will get fixed, and it can get fixed pretty fast. I hope it doesn't mean that, ultimately there's too much that needs to get changed if it is actually a content issue, but it sounds like it probably isn't.
And we've got to remember that the same thing happened to Crusader Kings 3, and you were able to play it on Game Pass anyway, sneakily.
Yeah.
So obviously it's not great for a game to launch and not be on the store page. Then you have to use like a sneaky way to get it.
That's a very good point. I discovered that all by myself. So if anyone, if this hasn't got classification by the time it gets released, just download the Xbox Game Pass app on your phone, which seems to talk to an international server, not an Australian server, and it will just be there on the homepage. And then you can just hit install remotely on my PC, and then it just appears installed, even though you can't search for it on the store on the PC. So that's the workaround if the same situation occurs. But we will see. I am getting more and more excited for this game. The more that I look at it, I watched. I saw the initial stuff, but
like
watching this now,
the cinematic trailers were like, oh, cool! It looks like a dark horror thing, and it's cool that's going to be a launch title. But like, it was this gameplay walkthrough that showed me that it's actually an interesting idea. That could play out in really cool ways.
Do you bounce between the realities at whim?
I think you can. But also, it's because I believe what they're showing us in this trailer is like you can choose to be either here and here, and it's like your character is moving one to one. As you can see, like the animations are the same here. You could be, well, I guess it's split there. I think this is gameplay, right? Like, see how you're walking in tandem and it's just showing you they've captured both sides of it.
Yeah.
For this demonstration.
But like, is it one of those situations? And I should just watch the gameplay demo myself. But you come up against something and you feel like I can't get past this, so you switch into the other dimension and activate something, and then come back. Unfortunately, it's going to keep you in the horror dimension far more than I'm actually comfortable with.
Absolutely.
But I am keen for that one. Something else I am keen for. Demon Souls. I'm a little worried about this story, though. I shouldn't be worried because it's not a bad story. According to it was actually a Washington Post article. There's a really big article on Mark Cerny and the PlayStation 5 development. It's a really interesting read. But there's something in there that says they're talking about the different UI improvements that they've made with the PlayStation 5, and one of them being that tip system that's built in, and that apparently Demon Souls will launch with 180 tip videos as part of the Game Help PS5 UI feature. So I'm like, cool. Like, this is supported by. I mean, this is not a first party title, so even though it is a launch title for the game, and it's encouraging that. As well. It's sorry,
and an exclusive.
Yeah, it's encouraging that it is, not a first party who are supporting this still. That sets a good precedent, I suppose. But I am worried about how unbelievably accessible that will be for me, and I'm worried about my weak will.
Yeah, it's like when I first heard about the feature, I'm like, that can only be good. And then you put it in a game like Demon Souls, which has its own feature for that. It's got little soap signs and little notes and like how cryptic it was playing through Dark Souls and finding like amazing chest ahead, or like a 3-pronged sentence that someone has chosen to put there. It's been upvoted enough by the community who's playing it, and it feels more organic to the world. That was a really nice way of being subtle about giving hints, the community helping each other without necessarily spoiling the experience of being brutalized by a game.
Yeah.
Having video hints isn't going to make playing the game easier, but it is going to show you how to play the game, and it almost feels like you lose the joy of discovering how to fight something, because I think you found this as well. That's, to me, the most rewarding part of the game is learning the fight by being destroyed by the fight so many times that you slowly start to see the patterns, and being shown the patterns may remove some of that joy. Definitely.
It's like they're pretty fast games. If you know what you're doing and you just ran through and know exactly how to beat it, then there's not too much to it. You watch those speedruns and you go, right, even without weird sort of level hacks and stuff, you can burn through those games pretty quickly. The longevity, but the first time I played Dark Souls, it took me 40 hours. So you go, right, well, that's a 40-hour game that you can beat in 35 minutes or something. And that's because of that discovery and that backtracking and stuff. I definitely think that, to be clear, I'm not saying that this is one of those games where like you need to play it in a difficult way and you're not a real gamer if you don't do it. For me, it's more, I know that I will be tempted to look at things if it's just that easily accessible. If it is that situation where there is a big difference between me wandering around for 5 minutes going, I have no idea where I am or what I'm supposed to be doing, and then going, I could like tab out of this, open up a browser, go to a walkthrough, find the section I'm at, sort of scroll through, or I could just like spend that time continuing to look around. But if I just hit a button and like a little video comes up that says spin around that way and go there, I feel like this is a me problem, but I'll need to resist that. So that's that's fine, but there are people out there who will need that and want that, and that in that case, it's a good thing that you do get to experience those games, I suppose. I can't call this a bad thing, and particularly since they're supported by the PlayStation is going to support players uploading their own hints, and creating their own video tips and stuff like that, and I'm sure that'll be fun. But having, I hope there's a way that they can be memed a bit.
Yeah, totally. I'm sure, like, even just in the play style, that people do something dumb. But you're not going to be tricked into jumping off the wrong ledge anymore because you're going to watch that video and be like, oh, he died.
Yeah, totally.
But having first-party ones means they've probably at least considered the things we're talking about, of like ruining parts of the game, ruining the discovery of the world, ruining the combat with a particular enemy or something. So I'm sure they've at least considered that, and hopefully they just implement it in a way that is really useful to people who need and want it, and not necessarily so enticing to someone like yourself who, you'll find your way comfortably anyway because the game design's good enough to lead you in the right direction. Yeah,
totally. There was in a episode of the Giant Bombcast, they were having a discussion about this feature, and they were using what was the name of the game? What was the
launch title or something older?
Phil Fisher's game.
Fez.
They were using Fez as an example, that like when Fez came out, there was a several month period where people were discovering the secrets of Fez, and that it became a real like Reddit online forum based game of going, I figured out what this thing meant, which led to unlocking this secret, which led to really unlocking like what the game was trying to do. And that there are games that come out. I think Dark Souls is a lighter version of that in terms of going through all the Souls games in general, going through the bosses, blah, 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 is kind of relatively straightforward. There's a ton of lore that you can attach to that, but the game itself is pretty like just go here and do the thing and reach the end of the game. But for those games like a Fez, it'll be or a Witness or something, it'll be interesting to see how the tip system gets integrated, because you can show, well, this is how you solve this puzzle, but will there be a tip of, well, if you solve this puzzle, then you unlock the thing that we're trying to hide, that is the, spoilers for the Witness coming up, so if you don't want to be spoiled for the Witness, turn off for 10 seconds. But that moment when you first discover that there are the puzzles in the squares, but then there are also puzzles in the world, and that you can start drawing
shadows,
and then suddenly you go, the whole island is a puzzle, and that that moment of discovery, I don't think should be ever in a tip. It should be something that actually gets discovered by somebody. And that's a tricky line to sort of balance, of going, well, we're not going to give you a tip to 100% unlock this game, and not just tips to sort of like mainline the story or whatever.
Totally. And like you bring up the Witness, and it's like, I could imagine getting stuck on a puzzle and then using a tip to solve it, not learning the legend, the key to the puzzle.
Exactly.
And then you go to the next version of that puzzle and you're like, well, I didn't learn anything from the last one, so I just need to cheat my way, just tip video my way through the whole area. And it's like, that ruins the experience for yourself. So it's definitely just going to be self-control.
Yeah, that's what it is. Maybe this is a good thing. Let's spin it. It's a good thing. It's just teaching us self-control. That's all it is.
Absolutely.
This is strengthening our will. The final thing I'll say to this is, I do remember when I was the first time I played Dark Souls 3 after you taught me, and then I continued playing that game, and I was playing in the office, and at one point you came and you were looking for Dark Souls footage or something, and you just leant over my computer, opened up a new tab, and started typing in Dark Souls 3 to get footage, and an auto-completed URL came up that was Dark Souls 3 boss walkthrough, and you just looked at me and you went, "Oh, Nick," and I was like, "Dude, that one, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I needed to know."
That's funny. I don't remember that.
It shamed me so hard that like every time, and I'm not ashamed to say that I still look up walkthroughs occasionally when I just feel like in a game I'm sick of banging my head against this wall. But every time I go to IGN walkthrough, I just think of your face this far away with me going, "Oh, Nick."
Nick boy. Come on.
So shameful.
Again, like Dark Souls, it's like just being shown how to do it doesn't mean you can do it, because it is mechanically challenging. So learning it is part of it, and then actually doing it is the other part. So
it's something like The
probably
Witness
fun.
is where you look up the solution for the puzzle, you just go, oh, that took no skill. But yes, you still need to know it. So thank you for trying to make me feel better. But you didn't make me feel good back then. No. Someone else that's not feeling good is the company that was making third-party faceplates for the PlayStation 5 because they have been forced to shut down by Sony. This was PlayStation 5, who had already been ordered to rename their company, thanks to PlayStation coming in and going, yeah, we're not happy with PlayStation 5 at all. Who changed their name to customize my plates. Obviously, the PS5 outer plates can be removed, new ones can be put on. These ones were selling just sort of like different colors and that sort of thing, but now legal action from Sony has shut it down completely, and they've needed to refund all the purchases and basically close the company down.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it sucks for this company that was trying to be, I guess, ahead of the curve and entrepreneurial. But the reality is, we always thought that Sony were going to sell first-party ones, or at least come up with licensing deals with Mad Cats or someone.
Yeah, totally.
And this basically confirms that they have plans to make money doing it, and they don't want other people making money selling something that they own the proprietary to. So,
totally. Microtransactions in the chat. Sorry, go ahead.
It was always going to happen.
It was. Microtransactions in the chat says this feels kind of shitty. Oh, hang on a second. You'll be witness to this.
Yep.
Hello, this is Nick. Oh, where are you? Yes, cool. Just head up to level 3, and at the end of the hallway, the last door on the left, just bang on that and someone's in there.
A really hairy person will be in there.
We're Suite 6, so you just got to go all the way down the end. Yeah, it's very confusing.
No one
Low
Google
key,
Suite 6.
The sign is up above the thing.
No
Beautiful.
one Google it.
Cool. Thanks, mate. Good. There was a delivery for Sunday. Yes, so Microtransactions in the chat said, this feels shitty. Is this any different than buying a phone case? In which case, wait, Angus is calling now. Oh, he just wanted to meme me. I think the difference is that a phone case is just in the shape of the phone and fits the phone, whereas the plates were actually designed by artistically designed by PlayStation, and the way that they adhere to the PlayStation was designed by Sony as well.
Yeah, like you could sell a case for the Xbox Series X because it's literally a box,
a shoebox.
They'd be like, "This is a box for a different thing."
Yeah,
this is a decal for a different box that happens to be the same dimensions. Whereas the design of the curve of PlayStation, they've definitely put a patent on that angle.
Yeah, no one can use that angle.
Yeah,
nature, builders, nothing. You
they own Fibonacci now.
You could sell a case for this. You could sell like a clamshell style thing that you slip your PlayStation into and then it snaps shut over the top of it. That would be fine. But you can't do this. The fact that they need to refund all those orders, I wonder how far when I first read that, I was like, I wonder how far down the production path they'd headed. Like by taking pre-orders, you've already started spending that money on something.
Manufacturing.
Manufacturing, people, designs. So you're having to refund that, cancel all that. My favorite quote for all this is that now that the pre-orders are being cancelled, the firm is saying it is now, quote, wiser on trademark law. That's a terrible lesson to have to learn by your company being shut down due to trademark law.
Totally. That's the lesson that YouTubers and Twitch streamers are learning about copyright law every day.
Yeah, totally. So no custom faceplates for the PS5 at the moment, but there is no way in hell they are not going to sell them. I just hope that I hope that they do a better job than the Xbox 360, because I never saw an Xbox 360 plate like that. The
well, it was just a face plate, and that was just like they were so naff.
They were so tacky looking all the time. Like I don't like themed game ones unless it's incredible. Like unless it's like a spider webbing, cool, whatever. But most of the time it's just like a picture of like Crash Bandicoot or something. I'm like, I don't want that. I want cool colors. I don't want camo. You could keep your camo. Stop making camo things. I don't care. And you're only making it for me. I hope that they come out with some more interesting designs than just the ones that I see in my head, a massive company going, this is what gamers want.
Yeah, I mean, even like the ones that company was selling, what were they called? PlayStation 5. Great I mean, they deserve to be shut down for the name alone. But at least they were simple aesthetic choices, right? It's like, I want just a black console. Here's the black faceplate, blue, red, like, theme it to your space, as opposed to it being like, is Arctic ice man circles. Totally. And it's just like, it's Yetis and ice. It's like, no.
Can we take a moment for old mate Dave in the chat who says, do you know how many camo controllers I've lost?
They're still there. You're just not looking in the right place.
That's right. Yeah. You'll find them one day. And then the final bigger story that we have for today is Starfield's map is going to be the biggest one from a Bethesda game yet. During an interview for this year's Develop Brighton conference, Todd Howard shared some more info on the RPG Starfield. It says that literally the biggest news is the expected size of the map, which will be even larger than that of Fallout 76, which itself was 4 times the size of Skyrim. There was no word as to whether this is just like one big area or if this is multiple planets or multiple worlds, which I assume it probably is. It seems like a bit of a waste if you go to space and you just are on one planet the entire time. Yeah, totally. But this is going to be a chunky boy.
Yeah, that's not necessarily a good thing.
Well, the thing that I don't like about it the most is that when pressed a bit more about it, or continuing to talk about it a bit more, he said that in order to create that much landmass, part of the map would actually be procedurally generated during development, and that for me, that's when these games sort of fall over a bit, is if there's too much procedural generation where it just feels like this wasn't a crafted experience. Obviously, they use a lot of procedural generation and then go in and handcraft, parts of it because there's just so much scale there. But, just getting bigger and bigger for the sake of being bigger and bigger is not as interesting to me as a dense world.
Totally. And like people already kind of had that problem with, I can't remember if they did it in Oblivion. I'm pretty sure they did, but definitely in Skyrim, there's like caves that are just procedurally generated, and it's like what, like I'm coming in here to see like, the waterfall rendered over there this time, and there's those box sets that I recognize from the last cave I was in,
and there's a chest,
and there's the chest at the end. So it's like, I mean, obviously they need to put stuff in the world to make it feel, and Skyrim did a pretty good job of always feeling like a real space, and everything kind of like wasn't so far apart that you were like, there's a cave over here. If you were just like running based on your mini map of being like, undiscovered location, you could play all day and just bounce between undiscovered locations without having to walk too far between them. Yeah. Fallout felt a little more sparse, and Fallout 76 I haven't played, but reports are that just feels empty. Yeah. Particularly because there's no like NPCs to interact with. I think there are some now, but there weren't even like NPCs to interact with. So it's just like, there's dogs and mutants, and there's apparently 60 other people in this map, but they're all the way over there, and I've not seen them.
Totally. So, BRB Cycling in the chat said, Chess has a small map. People still tend to like that, which is a good point.
Nice.
He also mentioned that there's a planned overhaul to Bethesda's creation engine, saying that the improvements are, quote, a larger jump in quality than that from Morrowind to Oblivion. And in particular, he named rendering, animation, and AI as the areas where the most significant improvements have been made, which, I mean, like we all know about Bethesda's engines.
Yeah, and I mean, and those things are what you would point at Skyrim and go like, yeah, okay, that needed work in these areas. I'm sure I'll really enjoy it, well, I'm not sure that I really enjoy it. It feels like the kind of game that's made for me. But I hope that Skyrim I played hours and hours and hours of, despite its flaws. I'm sure Starfield is going to be a flawed game, but I hope it's flawed in the way that Skyrim was flawed, in that it was compelling enough to stay in the world, and not flawed in the way that Fallout 76 is flawed, in that it is not worth playing.
Yeah, totally. And if you actually look at the trajectory of, like, I mean, the last Fallout 76, it seems we're on a downward slope in terms of, I would say, universal sentiment on the games. And certainly, I mean, Fallout is not particularly my vibe. I'd never really grokked whatever is really special about those games. I enjoyed playing parts of them, but then I would get bored. I don't like that world. But the sentiment for the last Fallout was just not good at all by the end of it. So hopefully this is a rightening of that ship. Sure, it's way bigger, and that's like, again, I don't always care about big maps, but yeah, hopefully that it's going to be a while until we see it, so they've got the time to sort of really make something special again.
I guess it might also, just like last thought, if it's in space, they can call the playable space area map. It makes sense that that's empty.
Maybe that's all the procedurally generated stuff. It's just where the stars
vacuum.
Are. Yeah. This bit of black we put here, and this bit of black we put here on this type. So
one of these bits of black we didn't even put in there as procedurally generated. Can you guess which part?
And then moving on to the leftovers, a couple of quick bits. Gabe Newell to launch a gnome into space. Pete, I didn't read this story. Can you tell me what this is about?
So, are you familiar with the mission in Half-Life 2 Episode 2? Well, it wasn't a mission. It was an achievement that was built into the game of carrying a gnome. And here is the one that has been rendered for real life.
Yep.
Carrying a gnome through, I think you get it right near the start of the game. It's not the first thing you see, but picking up this gnome and carrying it through the entire Episode 2 to put in the rocket that launches at the end of the game that gets sent up to space.
I didn't actually know it was placed in a rocket, but I knew about the achievement of taking it through the whole game.
Yeah, so he is following the meme. Is partnered with Rocket Lab to blast, which is a New Zealand company, I believe. Rocket Lab.
Is he still trapped there?
He's still trapped there. I don't think he's trapped there. He's choosing to be there. He's applied for citizenship, and there were rumors that he was going to be starting a little game dev hub in New Zealand. He's just going to fly people across from Seattle to work out of New Zealand. Anyway, so he's partnered up with Rocket Lab to blast a real Gnome Chomsky, which is the name of the gnome, into space. Newell is planning to donate to Starship Children's Hospital based on the number of folks who tune in to watch the launch.
Lovely.
So this gnome was manufactured by Weta Workshop, who obviously world famous for all the stuff they do for Hollywood. To quote Valve, the 150 millimeter gnome will be integrated with Electron's kick stage designed. I'm just going to read words and they're not going to make sense to me, but maybe they'll make sense to some of you. Designed to deliver small satellites into precise orbits, and launched as part of a rideshare mission from Launch Complex 1 in Mahia, New Zealand. Mahia, New Zealand. So basically, he's just trying to generate some interest in this launch that's going to be broadcast. Valve will make a charitable contribution based on the amount of people that engage with this launch, and it is a scientific satellite delivery to orbit, but he's put a gnome in it as well.
This is what happens when billionaires have too much time on their hands. I mean, I suppose I'll take this over them choosing to hunt backpackers in Eastern Europe. So
I found someone had uploaded a video of themselves getting the gnome into the shuttle at the end. So if you haven't seen it, he's this is how old episode. There's a facehugger crawling in it, the pet one. I can't remember what his name is. I think Dog. No, Dog is the robot. what's the name of the face hugger that like hangs around with you? But they've made it all the way to the end, and then
Incredible.
It's so old it's in 4:3. They were playing episode 2 on a 4:3 monitor
and capturing. Very impressive.
This would have been
there you go. Going up to space.
Fraps, or there was Fraps and there was one other.
Forgot about Fraps. God, Fraps was intense.
Yeah,
Fraps made huge files.
Yeah, it was just like raw dumps from the GPU.
Speaking of raw dumps, this is we didn't talk about this, but that's a terrible segue. But it's actually perfect. It's the perfect segue for this, but it just sounds bad. Did you see that the Watch Dogs Legion source code had been leaked online?
I did see that.
560 gig or something of just raw assets, unused data, just the whole shebang up online and being shared around right now. Which
in the same. I kind of made a decision to not put it in there so that we weren't just like talking about these ransomware fuckwits, but
crimes.
They also the same group also hacked into Crytek servers and put fuel to the fire that potentially there is a Rise 2, which no one in the world will care about except me because I fucking loved Rise. It was amazing. It was such a good tech demo. And I want to play another Rise tech demo.
That's great. And then the final thing we have here.
Bandicam, Cinnamon's Bun says Bandicam was the other like super early capture software.
Right, okay. And then the final story we have for today is Godfall system requirements are very, very steep. This game looking more and more like it's going to be released, Pete, despite
unfortunately
the rumors that I've heard. The looter slasher melee action RPG from Counterplay Games and Gearbox Publishing is out on November 12th, and the PC requirements are pretty hefty. The minimum required is NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060 card or an AMD Radeon RX 580. But the 1060, that's a big card to run this.
It's a 4-year-old card.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's not that many games that launch and just be like, if you haven't upgraded your hardware in the last 4 years, you're not going to be able to play this.
There are a lot of particles going off, but that's the minimum. That's like to run this in any playable way. And then the recommended specs are a 1080 Ti.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I saw a 1080 Ti as a recommended specs for something that was supposed to be just like a game for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like this was designed PlayStation first and PC second, which is good for PlayStation 5 owners who are going to get this really shit-hot game that's well optimized. Mm-hmm. And maybe the port across to PC was just like, it works, but we didn't build this thing scalable enough to, it's going to just break the game if we start pulling particle effects and stuff out to let it run on something.
Yeah.
So...
I think it looks. We've spoken about this game so. We probably given this game more coverage than any other show.
I know. Yeah.
But while it looks garish, I do think it looks good. I think that even though the design is very OTT, but I think that there's a lot going on screen, but I appreciate it. I feel like it's what I think of. You know what it looks like, and we may have even said this, and I don't remember. We've just spoken about this game so much. It looks like a game that is in a film set in 10 years in the future or something, where someone is playing a video game.
It's the game that gets made in that Raven Quest, Mythic Quest Raven's Banquet.
Yeah, or like whatever he plays in Her or something. It looks like that kind of game where it's like someone has just built something where they're like, this is what video games look like, right?
It's even the whole game is built on the Twitch hues of purple and blue.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm rocking blue behind me right now because I'm on Twitch, so I have to. You're wearing blue because you're contractually obliged to.
I had to change the color of my eyes before I agreed to start appearing on Twitch. So there you go. If you do want to play this game, and you don't have a hefty PC, then you're probably looking to buy a hefty PS5. And that'll be the way to do it. And that is all the news that's fit to talk about for approximately an hour on a Wednesday morning.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Look at the time. 11:28. We don't even have time to look up dailymail.com.
Don't we?
Got a bit of time. There's 2 minutes.
Let's just have a look. I mean, it's either that or just constantly refresh pages looking for election results. So I would rather hear about Beck, who won Best Dressed at Melbourne Cup Day.
Well done,
Rebecca
Beck.
Judd. Well done, Rebecca Judd.
I hope you saw a lot of horses get murdered.
Did any horses die this year? I'm sure they did.
Sure they did.
What a terrible
Of COVID. Sorry, I don't know. That's not a good joke.
Well, they're all running so close together, Pete.
Yeah.
They're
It's
not
like the
respecting
gates need
the
to be further apart.
Yeah. So
Normie News says Dreamweb. Yeah, fucking normies.
We are back with another stream tonight because Back Pocket is on tonight, not tomorrow night. So remember that, because tomorrow night or tomorrow day, all of the Back Pocket set is being ripped out of the studio as we install a Assassin's Creed set for the Voyage to Valhalla Assassin's Creed trivia show that we are producing for Ubisoft on Sunday night.
Yeah. Thank you for allowing us to move the day, because it's going to help us greatly
Big time.
with this other production. So, if you can be there tonight, be there. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Well, it is actually going to be awesome because we're going to do something at the show that is very exciting.
Yeah.
Should we tease it? I feel like we should.
I don't know. I feel like.
How about can we vaguely tease it?
Yes. Gus is already teasing it by saying ... So you now know it's something to do with Gus.
It's something to do with Gus. Something to do with Gus is going to happen tonight on the show. And so I just recommend that you tune in, because it should be a very fun time for all of us, except for Gus.
We're going to be, there's something to do with Gus, that Gus is going to be there and involved in the thing.
Yep.
And also we got to talk about, we will lead everyone to our Movember page, because I didn't just shave my face because I was sick of beard.
That's true. Yeah.
So there's two things that are going to be happening. They may or may not be connected.
No. And I need to bring the belts to strap him down. All right, so we hope that you can join us tonight. It should be a fun time. And also clear out your schedules for Sunday night, because we are doing that Assassin's Creed Voyage to Valhalla trivia show, which will be a ton of fun. We've been working on it for a while, and it's all coming together now. And it should just be a very, very enjoyable evening with some very cool people just doing some very fun, dumb things. And if you like us, then I feel like you're definitely going to like that show.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. Well, I think that is it for us today until we see you in sort of 9 hours time, 7.5 hours, 8.5 hours time. Sorry. Hopefully by then there's no civil war in America, and we'll all be able to enjoy our evening as we strap a man to a table and do something to it.
Yeah. And we're going to raid Becklet, who is an artist who looks to be building an animation at the moment.
Ooh.
So that could be cool to watch.
And you could say to Becklet, what you building?
What you building?
Is that a terrible raid message? Probably.
I think so.
Yeah. Someone come up with something better.
Someone in the chat, please come up with something fun.
Yeah. Nothing about strapping a man to a table. No one likes that. Oh God, they've all just
what you're building.
What you're building.
People are into what you're building.
All right, whatever. Builders, you'll figure it out. Go talk about something, building something.
More tentacles, says Raid Bunny. Dusk Bunny.
Raid Bunny.
Well, I've got Raid written in my comment thing, and then it saw Dusk Bunny.
Okay, get us out of here, Pete.
All right, let's back it out in 3. Here we go. 2, 1, 0. Backed off.